Today we're gonna be reacting to his story shorts. Um, I haven't reacted to any of his shorts, so let's go with the most recent one. Let's see what his most recent one is. Latest. Okay, let's go with this one.
I was working at a bull ring in Spain, treating a bull's wound, when my boss stormed in and kicked the bull hard in the ring.
Why would you
These
kill?
things are just killing machines that make me money, worth nothing, just like you. He spat, grabbing my scrawny arm.
What do you mean about that, bro?
And I'm betting $100,000 a bull kills you. He laughed. I'll make a fortune, but I begged in fear. Please, I'll die out there. But he sent his men to grab me, and as they dragged me toward the arena that had already killed 5 of my co-workers, I realized I'd spent my whole life caring for these bulls, and now they were going to kill me. They shoved.
In this situation, I would just accept faith and die.
Me into the ring, and the crowd roared as trash rained down on me. My boss watched from above, grinning, already counting his
Bro, why is he smiling about somebody about to die?
And out stepped a monster twice the size of any bull I'd ever seen. Its hide covered in
Oh, now you're cooked. His story.
This bull has killed thousands. Let's see how long the scrawny one lasts. My legs shook because this bull didn't know me and had no reason to spare me. Hit the bull. Get him angry so I can win. My boss screamed, and his men rushed in and drove sharp spears deep into its back until it roared in agony. I couldn't stand it, so I raised my hands and tried to calm it by my own bulls, but the pain had taken over.
Nah, he's cooked.
My whole body
he's cooked.
In fear as I threw myself into the dirt.
He's cooked.
Horn ripping my sleeve inches from my ribs.
Oh my god.
Already spinning back, and this time it was aimed straight at my chest. I curled up and waited for the horns, but then I saw the spears buried in its back and the blood running down its sides, and had an idea. I'd worked with bulls my whole life, so I knew this one wasn't angry, it was in pain. So I stood up and walked straight toward the bull that had killed thousands. The crowd went silent as I reached up and pulled the spears out of its back one by one like I've done for years, and the bull went still. It knew I was helping him, so when I climbed onto its back, it let me go, I whispered, and it stomped his feet, charging at the stabbed it, tossing
Nah, that's crazy. Hit the man. Hit him. Yes. Oh my god.
Speakers boomed. The scrawny one wins $100,000. So I took every cent of my boss's money and spent it setting all the bulls free. I was working at a
nah. Okay. I like this short, but let's go to the next one.
My phone went off, and when I looked at the message, I nearly fell from my chair. I was being considered for a NASA internship and just needed to nail one more interview to get it. But when I gripped my girlfriend's hands and screamed, "I got it," she instantly pulled away. "Oh, that's great, honey."
Why?
She tilted her head and walked.
Why is she angry, bro?
I thought it was strange, but said nothing, and immediately nosedived into my booklets.
Why is she angry?
I smiled, thinking about getting to go to space like I'd always dreamed
Bruh.
of, and even started mentally budgeting.
Space is a good,
But the night before my interview, she sat next to me with tears.
I like it also.
I looked up from my booklet. She suddenly started crying. "I cheated. I've been cheating on you for the past 6 months." She gave me her phone with her Tinder open.
Nah.
Keep this from you any longer.
That's
Please.
crazy,
She
bro.
lunged into my arms, crying as I sat there, shell-shocked and unable to move, not even knowing how to react because we'd been together since middle school. The next morning, I walked into the NASA interview still shaking. I couldn't pull myself together.
That's
and completely
crazy.
bombed it. At home, a rejection email came.
No.
And I cried as I
He
threw
got
away the rocket prototypes I
rejected.
built. That night, I was crying on my couch because the 2 things I loved most had just been ripped from me when suddenly my doorbell rang. I opened it.
In that situation, I would just get a McDonald's job.
My now ex-girlfriend, smiling and happy. "It's so good to see you, honey." She walked past me and sat on the couch.
Or work on a gas station. In a gas station.
Scrolling through
Gas
movies
station.
like nothing was
I
wrong.
mean.
My hands shook. "What are you doing here? You cheated on me. I didn't get the job because you chose last night to tell me that you were cheating." But that's when she stood up with a smile and said the words, "I'll never forget." "I lied, honey. I didn't cheat on you, honey. I only said that so you'd bomb the interview. That way you could stay here and wouldn't have to leave me for months on end when you went to space." She hugged me and whispered, "Now it can be just us two."
That's crazy,
So we
bro.
wouldn't have any challenges. My stomach turned in horror as I realized she'd deliberately sabotaged me. That selfish cow. My phone went off.
I mean, she wants to hang some time out with you. I mean, just hang out with her.
Let's go!
Bro. Oh my god.
I walked outside during the Halloween party, looking for my best friend because he'd been gone for 90 minutes. Then I saw a police officer talking to someone in a giant mask. Do you know anyone named Nick? The officer yelled, and I frantically ran over.
Nick?
Yeah, that's my best friend, I panted. Well, your best friend is reported missing. The officer pointed his finger. But this gentleman here says he can help us find him. The masked partygoer laughed and pointed at the dark woods.
I'm just gonna
that
be
stretched
quiet.
5 miles long. Nick, that way. He slurred so hard I could barely hear him, and I gripped my head because this drunken goofball was my only hope of finding my best friend of 12 years. I instantly pulled out my phone, and dozens of us scattered.
Oh,
into the
hell
trees. But then
no.
my torch caught the writing on a tree trunk. Beware of
Grizzly bears?
Instantly swayed as
Nah,
I, put up a photo of
I would
Nick
just
with the
run.
drunk guy's mask. You're sure you saw this guy run into the woods?
Nah, you're
He
cooked.
nodded. And I almost cried as I realized Nick could be getting mauled by a bear. We searched further, screaming Nick as I called the state police. With guard dogs and floodlights and 300 officers now combing the woods. But then a grizzly bear stepped out. I instantly dropped to the mud, because if it's brown, you lie down. But the drunken masked guy behind me started laughing. Who's a good Teddy? He giggled towards the bear, and I instantly swept his legs so he'd fall and covered his mouth over his mask. Shut up. The bear growled and walked over, but I kept my body still, even if I wanted to pee in fear. It finally wandered off, and I immediately got up to keep searching. But 4 hours later, my throat was raw from screaming.
Why?
I reached the end of the woods, and I dropped to my knees. I lost him. I looked at the photo of me and Nick together, my tears falling because I'd never see him again. But then the masked drunk guy looked at my phone, squinted, and started his
The masked drunk guy is his best friend. Watch.
hysterically laughing. Wait, that's me. He pulled off his mask, and my hands flew over my
I
head
called
because the
it.
masked guy was
I
Nick. He
called
fell to
it.
the mud. Bro, I was so drunk I didn't even
I
realize
called
I was
it.
the person we were looking for. He hugged me as I stared
Nah,
over his
I
shoulder
called
at the
it though.
300
I
people
called
still
it.
searching the woods for him. To this day, I wonder how drunk Nick had to be to do that. I walked outside
Me
during
too.
the Halloween party, looking for my best
Let's
friend
go
because
to
he'd
the
been
next
gone for
one.
90 minutes. Me and my little brother snuck onto our roof with a rope and a bottle
Why?
of dish soap to build a water slide. He flipped the
Water
top off the
slide?
dish soap and squeezed
That's
it
just
down the
gonna
tile
go
while
so
singing,
wrong.
Soap makes everything slippery, but then his foot hit the soap and slid.
No.
My whole body went cold as I scrambled to the edge and looked down. He was wedged in the gap between our house and the neighbor's wall, arms pinned to his sides,
Oh.
screaming at the top of his lungs. Help me, quick! My hands started shaking because our parents were at work, and I was the only one who could save him.
In that situation, I would call 911.
Hold on, I'm pulling you out of there. I fed the rope down until it touched his shoulder and yelled,
Oh,
"Grab onto
hell
it," but he yelled back,
nah.
"I can't. My arms won't move." His face was getting redder the harder he strained. So I told him, "All right, I'll think of something else." But he thrashed against the walls and slipped deeper, and the gap
Ah,
squeezed
that's
tighter.
scary, bro.
I screamed, "No," and my heart slammed against my chest because every move he made was burying him alive. So I lay flat and stretched down for his shirt, but my fingers came up short.
Oh,
so I
no.
pushed myself further over the edge. But
You're
then my
gonna
fingers
fall.
slid on the soap, and I fell halfway into the gap myself. My brother's voice had gotten so thin, it sounded like a whisper. "Help me, I can't breathe." So I clawed back onto his
Oh,
legs, because if I went down there
no.
with him, nobody was coming for either of us. That's when my hand bumped the soap bottle lying by the edge, and his song replayed in my head. Soap makes everything slippery. I grabbed it with my shaking hands, leaned back over the edge, and
This-
squeezed every last drop down.
The soap is gonna make him slip so he can go through the houses. I'm calling it.
The walls around him. Try wiggling. Okay. He ripped one arm free and finally grabbed the rope, so I hauled while my shoes
Oh,
slid
hell
between his thighs,
no.
dragging me toward the drop with him. But I pushed back and kept pulling on the rope. He finally clawed out of the gap, and both of us collapsed onto the roof with our chests wheezing up and down. He caught his breath, snatched the empty bottle from my hand, and grinned. "Let's finish the water slide."
Nah, don't do that. Well, that's gonna be the end of the video for today. If you want to see more his stories, like and subscribe. Bye.